Mr. Manning Feraci is Vice President of Federal Affairs to the National Biodiesel Board. Prior to work for NBB, Mr. Manning served as the Chief of Staff to Congressman Kenny Hulshoff. Founded in 1992, the National Biodiesel Board is the national trade association representing the biodiesel industry as the coordinating body for research and development in the United States. Mr. Feraci, you have 5 minutes.
Great. Chairwoman Velasquez, Ranking Member Shabbat, members of the committee, on behalf of the National Biodiesel Board and the many small businesses that make up our trade association, certainly appreciate the opportunity to be here today to tell you about the importance of the biodiesel tax incentive to our industry. The National Biodiesel Board, as I alluded to, we're the trade association for the U.S. biodiesel industry, and we represent the breadth of the entire industry. You have everything from the producers who are actually making the fuel, to fuel marketers, the feedstock providers who are providing the material from which we're making the fuel. So we have a pretty good perspective in terms of what's going on in the biodiesel industry. Biodiesel itself is a diesel replacement fuel. It's produced typically from animal fats or vegetable oils. Soybean oil is typically the feedstock that's used in the United States. However, I think that you've seen over time, you've seen an increased diversification in the feedstock that's used. And you basically react the animal fat or the vegetable oil with alcohol, remove the glycerin, and refine it till you hit a fuel specification that's determined by an international consensus body known as ASTM. We take very seriously fuel quality efforts. We vigorously test our fuel. We encourage our members to engage in our fuel quality program because consumers have to be confident that we're putting a quality fuel into the marketplace, and we'll feel confident that we are. In the marketplace, our fuel is typically blended with conventional diesel fuel. Usually it blends of 20% or below in the marketplace. And typically what you have are below the rack jobbers who are buying the fuel from our plant and blending it below the rack. We have penetration at about 42 fuel terminals right now. And just to give you some perspective, there's 1,500 fuel terminals nationwide. Ethanol is at about half of those terminals. We're at 42. Now we expect that number to go up over time, and we certainly want to see that happen because our goal is to get greater penetration into the fuel infrastructure so that we get to more consumers with our fuel. The tax incentive that I want to visit on here briefly was initially enacted in 2004 as part of the American Jobs Creation Act, subsequently extended as part of the Energy Policy Act of 2005, and expires at the end of this year. It's a $1 per gallon blender's excise tax credit that you get if you make the fuel from virgin vegetable oils or animal fats, or it's 50 cents per gallon if you make it from second-use oils such as yellow grease or restaurant grease, for example. The fuel has to meet ASTM D6751, which is the fuel specification and Section 211 requirements of the Clean Air Act to qualify for the tax incentive. And the credit is claimed at the point that the biodiesel is blended with conventional diesel fuel. And everyone who claims that has to register with the IRS to claim that credit. And the one commentary that you can make on the existing biodiesel tax incentive is that it's working. And all you have to do is look back. In 2004, when the credit was enacted, we had 25 million gallons of production in the United States. In 2007, we had 500 million gallons of production in the U.S. So if the idea is to increase the production and use of biodiesel, there's a pretty compelling case to be made that the biodiesel tax incentive is working. And not only is it working, there's a very compelling public policy rationale to be made for why we should encourage the production of use of biodiesel in the United States. The first and most obvious is it's going to reduce our dependence on foreign oil. The 500 million gallons of biodiesel produced in the United States represents, displacing 20 million barrels of oil. Ours is an extremely efficient fuel. We have a 3.5 to 1 energy balance. So that means for every unit of energy it takes to make a gallon of biodiesel, you get 3.5 units of energy out of it. And those are numbers that come from NREL, so they're extremely credible. So we're an efficient fuel that's going to help reduce our dependence on foreign oil. We're extremely good for the environment. The USDA DOE model has us as reducing greenhouse gas emissions by 78%. And most importantly, we're creating good green jobs in rural America. We support over 21,000 jobs, add $4 billion to the U.S. economy in 2007 alone. The most important thing, though, is that all these benefits that we get are all in jeopardy if the tax incentive is not extended, because it ends at the end of this current year on December 31st. Absent that credit, because the way it functions is to make biodiesel price competitive with petroleum diesel fuel. Absent that tax incentive, and not trying to be dramatic, our guys just are not going to produce fuel. So, Madam Chairwoman, Ranking Member Shabbat, appreciate you having this hearing. It's absolutely vital to our industry that this tax incentive be extended, and I'd be willing to take any questions you may have.